Okay, so this is the event breakdown of Bellator's Dynamite, which was a combined mixed martial arts and kickboxing event. So I'm going to start with the kickboxing. Kickboxing was Glory Kickboxing. There were 3 fights. Unfortunately and very disappointingly, all 3 went to decision. That does not mean all of them were boring. It only means most of them were. The first fight was Carrie Ann Melendez versus, I can't remember her name. It didn't matter. Melendez dominated the entire time. Absolutely no chance for the other chick. It was like 30-26 or something. It was terrible. Huge defeat. Second one was Paul Semtex Daly versus Gonzalez. Daly won split decision. Very boring fight, no knockdowns. Really disappointing. Third one was a title fight. I can't pronounce either of the guys' names, I apologize. It was a light heavyweight title. Much more entertaining. It went 5 rounds. It was multiple knockdowns. It was much more entertaining. I would say that Glory definitely should have had more of their regulars, seeing as both Melendez and Daly are actually Bellator fighters. They're not really kickboxers. They're MMA fighters. Why they were in the Glory ring, I don't know. It should have been just kickboxers. But whatever. Next, the light heavyweight tournament. So the first match was Emmanuel Newton versus Phil Davis. Phil Davis got a submission by Kimura in the second round. Second round. And actually, the way he got to it was really interesting. He actually started off kind of pulling guard and rolling till eventually getting to side control. And I would definitely I may post a video of how he did it later in the week. But yeah, that was actually a really interesting submission. I found that very, very entertaining. The second fight, Mohammed King Mo Lalo versus Linton the Swarm Vassell. The Swarm got swarmed. King Mo scored several knockdowns. However, the ring was a little bit, or the cage was slippery, and he actually fell and slipped a few times, which meant that he was much more conservative in his attack. So once he scored the knockdown, he wasn't jumping right on top going for the finish. He was much more hanging back, which is actually a smart thing to do, seeing as he didn't want to end up slipping into a takedown and getting reversed and then potentially being on his back and in danger himself, which was smart. However, midway through the second round, Linton Vassell got a big takedown, big double leg, and slammed King Mo on his back. King Mo ended up reversing this. However, it did injure King Mo's ribs, forcing him out of the tournament. His replacement was Francis Carmont. So the second round of the fight was Francis Carmont versus Phil Davis. Francis Carmont got knocked out in the first round. Phil Davis is not a power puncher. He was primarily known for his wrestling and his grappling. Some ground and pound, as most wrestlers tend to do, but he was not known to have one-punch knockout power, so this was a very interesting finish. Also in the cage, however, not part of the tournament, Josh Thompson's Bellator debut. Josh Thompson did very well, and he proved that he is certainly top-tier lightweight material. Maybe not in the UFC, however, the lightweight division in the UFC is brutal. You've got Rafael dos Anjos, who is phenomenal. You've got Cowboy, who's undefeated, who's on like a 9-fight winning streak or something, and fights like 6 times a year because he's a madman. You have Khabib Nurmagomedov, who is undefeated. He's 22-0, and he's never fought for a title. So that's an extremely deep division, and I think Thompson made the right decision going over to Bellator. He's going to make more money there, sponsorship and everything, and he proved tonight, at Dynamite, that he is a contender. Then the title fight, which was more of like an exhibition almost. was Tito Ortiz versus Liam McGarry. Decided first round by submission. This was another interesting submission win, as Liam McGarry tapped out Tito Ortiz with an inverted triangle choke from bottom. Normally when you see the inverted triangle, it's from a north-south position, and the guy on top is hitting it. This was not the case. He got it from his guard, kind of. He ended up kind of slipping out to the side and getting it, but it was still very interesting. I've never really seen an inverted triangle from bottom, and you really rarely see them from the top even. And what makes this even better was Tito Ortiz, despite being like 40 years old and having all these major surgeries, did very well for himself, I have to say. I mean, he took Liam McGarry took the title from Emmanuel Newton, and I forgot. Well, Tito took Liam McGarry down and was actually mounting decent ground and pound offense. That being said, you always got to watch your opponent's guard when you're on top. Especially these days, when anyone who's in the top tier of either Bellator or the UFC is dangerous off their back. You simply cannot be in the top 3 without having some form of submission game. John Jones is a jiu-jitsu white belt and will submit people anywhere. So that should tell you something. You know, all of these top-level guys now have the jiu-jitsu background, so you can't just sit in their open guard and just try and pound away at them. You actually have to be aware of their feet. Tito Ortiz forgot about this, was not paying attention, and ended up tapping to a inverted triangle, which is something that I also hope to break down later in this week, or possibly next week. So I'm going to try and get you guys those 2 grappling videos, introduce each of my roommates who will also be helping me with my training, and yeah, so signing off. Oh yeah, and proprietary plug, or obligatory plug, you know what I meant. Check out Mastercast Gaming.